is now my kids are old enough. They're now meeting with our financial advisor with some seed money, and they're having their own meeting. And all I ask is that they meet with them once a quarter, not so I can approve or disapprove, because I hope they fail. I hope they lose money with that little number before they get a bigger number and lose it. I hope they learn lessons. Because I don't know about you, but I had to learn my lessons. And I'm glad I learned it at smaller numbers, the bigger numbers, because now I'm a downside protector before I search up.
Hello and welcome to Pathways E3, a special edition of Pathways with Amberstitt. The Pathways E3 podcasts were recorded with special guests who were attending and collaborating at the NAFA E3 conference in Newport Beach, California in September 2025. Let's join the conversation. We are live at E3 and we have Joe with us today, which I am so excited about because we're new friends. We are live at NAFA, so with a lot of experience running. Well, you're going to have to share a little bit about your background because it's too extensive for me to articulate in one sentence. But I really want to get to the meat of how you see our industry benefiting from mentorship and really having some reciprocating, some community. But there's more to the story. So we're going to start there. I'm going to have you share a little bit about why you're here, why you're speaking, and then I'll have some more questions for you. So
Sure. Sounds good.
So why are you on stage today here at NAFA?
Because, like you said, I'm a tax attorney. I started out in the construction industry with civil engineering. And then I'm a general contractor by trade. I hammer nails to become an attorney at 30.
No way. I didn't know that part.
I am my client. I built and sold 2 businesses before I was 31 cents. I have personally used batshit crazy assets. I've got advisors and partners and all the things that you would imagine, just like our clients do.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about today, more often than not, the firms do a variety of things, but I spent about a third of my life in legal, financial, and tax technical for the $30 to $300 million client family. About a third of my life in family business conflict and family conflict, usually toxicity, where people say they haven't been able to interact with each other in years or decades. And about a third of my life teaching those 2 things. Today's conversation, they asked if I'd fill in, not on those subjects, but on building multidisciplinary collaborative teams for that kind of a family.
Okay.
Because most of those families have hodgepodge together, or they have one company that has put it all together, but naturally all that advice goes one direction. So how does a family put together that kind of a team? And if you've got an independent financial advisor that's not a bank or a wirehouse, how do you get that advisor to head up a team of best in class where they don't argue with each other and they don't make you be the ping pong ball going back and forth? But how do you hear what I might call President Lincoln at the time had a cabinet of adversaries where there were people who had different opinions who spoke together and then came to a better solution than they could have otherwise. So that's what I'm talking about today.
When did you start seeing the need to talk about the family dynamic?
About 20 years ago, we ran into the fact that the successful families had 2 things in common. Families who intergenerationally transferred wealth had 2 major pieces in common. One, they had fabulous relationships with their advisors where they got to the advisor not because the advisor said, I've got something to show you or sell you, not because they wanted to do another thing, but because in the downtimes and the uptimes, they were talking to the advisor earlier than the disaster, earlier than the high point. And hence, the long-term financial return was less about what to invest in or the return on investment, but instead about the relationship with the advisor. Number 2, Roy Williams, a good friend of mine, used to say it was about trust and communication within families to get generational wealth. He's that guy that did a study on 70% gone in the first generation, 90 by the second. I would leverage from that, and he was a good friend of mine, God rest his soul. I would leverage from that there's an invisible guest at everybody's table that is this motive that families don't see. There's motives within advisors, there's motives within different advisors, motives within family members, motives for themselves, usually based on a misunderstanding of underlying fact and a misunderstanding of actions that were reactions, and a lack of attention until it was a problem. So between those 2 things, it became what was important. And in the family side, the suffering that happens for affluent families within their family relationships based on money used as control or money used as access or the fear of not having and the fear of having, how do I not ruin my children? How did I get my dad to see me as still doing? That dynamic caused a rift in the family that the person who created the wealth never wanted.
Yeah.
So we took about 3 years studying the best in the country that worked with that to find some commonalities. And now we teach it.
Okay. So then this is coming out in a new book that you have. This framework, we'll call it.
There's a book called Motive, and suggesting that it's the invisible guest. It does talk about motive itself, the understanding, like I just said.
Is it not always negative?
No, motive doesn't have to be negative. Look, you have a smile on your face right now. That has a motive behind it. Are you doing it for the camera? Are you doing it because we had a great time that we said last night?
I wouldn't do that for the camera.
We had a little fluff of the hair. Or do you do it because you're having a good time? Are you enjoying what you're doing today? I can make all sorts of assumptions about that smile that might be right or might be wrong. And I might base my next action on that. That becomes even more nefarious when I might have a frown on my face. I might have a frown on my face because I just thought of something that was said 3 days ago by somebody and I just got it.
Yeah.
And have nothing to do with this at all.
Sure.
But then it changes our dynamic. Can you imagine having that with your advisors over the biggest decisions you have to make? Can you imagine it with your family members? Misunderstanding. So there's a section on motive. There's a section on choosing and getting chosen. Most people don't know when they're being chosen or they're choosing advisors and what that dynamic is. How do you vet strategies? How do you vet advisors? And how do you steward to make sure you're vetting every year? If I work with you and you're my financial advisor and we're 5 years in and your life takes a turn, shouldn't I know that? Would it change the advice you're giving me?
Sure.
If also you ended up learning something new and you had the expert in the country that joined your team, that would also change our dynamic. Next is the idea that our family synergy or my family synergy shouldn't be about alignment where I create rules so my kids have to do something.
Sure.
Our industries are great at us making money by putting limitations and not trusting the next generation. I'm 62 years old. I don't want anybody to control my stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to raise my 24-year-old and my 20-year-old that they have to have somebody in charge of their stuff all their life. How do I teach them so they can be in charge? That's what I want for Sal and Maddie. Instead of creating this alignment stuff, which is rules or tools for rules, how do I create a synergistic relationship in our family about how we do? How do I get my son to say, hey, Dad, I'm going to be a lawyer, but like he said the other day, on my side thing, can we start to learn how to build together? You used to do that. This is how you build your wealth. Should I become a general contractor or should we develop land together? That's a wonderful conversation to have with a 24-year-old and to tell them, hey, for your first thing, let's do a fourplex and we'll grow from there. And then lastly, the one ingredient that most high net worth families, the creator of that wealth, not the balance, but the creator, they walk uphill with a bag of rocks on their back. And most of the people I talk to feel I would give half of my wealth if somebody would just carry 3 of my rocks.
Interesting.
And they also say the missing ingredient, as I look at my family, they're fabulous, they're dynamic, they've done well, but they all want to take care of themselves first and other people next. And that's true for 99.5% of the people in the United States. And it's a very common mental health practice. But I deal with the top 0.5% of all Americans.
Yeah.
And that person who created it has an others first mentality. Their joy comes from taking care of others. Often they're misunderstood servant leaders. And the words like narcissist, type A, and all those other negative things. And the thing that's not true about that is they're doing it to serve others. It appears like they're in control for themselves because they're balancing all of their people's needs.
Yeah.
They're looking down 1 or 2 generations saying, who's the next one that doesn't want power, doesn't want wealth, but wants to serve the family?
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pathways. Please consider giving us a like and subscribing to the channel. Your support goes a long way towards helping us bring you more compelling content. Remember, let's take action together. Now let's jump back into the conversation. Obviously, it's not that easy to look within your family and figure out who's ready, who's coachable, who's maybe the skill set you can teach, some of the practices. I imagine there's a lot of turmoil. Some of these kids are not going to show up. Like you're saying, they're looking. Some
will volunteer, some won't. Often it's your daughter-in-law or son-in-law that shows up. Because remember, the person that created it wasn't running towards wealth. And I know that because all of my entrepreneurs, because we handle 50 or 60 of them a year, they're not running to wealth because they passed their number a long time ago. They're running away from something.
Yeah.
The people in their life have nothing to run away from. So they don't have that, if I was to quote a Rocky movie, the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking for is an eye of the tiger, a drive, but to serve others, which will serve the family.
That's interesting. I mean, there's probably this perception of where, people might be a little angry that someone's more successful. There's probably this perception of that top 1% that's just, you're seeing so much of it.
And the other thing is too, the one that creates the wealth never had anybody show them how to run this. They know how to run the business, but how do you run the family of affluence? How do you train them? What do you do? You want better for them. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I wanted better, but did I deprive them of the drive? And that's why I say often daughters-in-laws and son-in-laws come from less and have that drive.
Yeah.
And let's say I'm the wealth creator, because let's say I do that as well. Are my kids standing in my shadow, or have I found a way that they reached an age that I started to have them have their own light? And I'm not trying to be metaphysical about it and all the rest.
Sure, no.
Let's face it, driven servant leader entrepreneurs cast huge shadows. How do you find that success for the next? And I don't mean I need to make an impact and I need to be meaningful. That stuff that belongs to no high net worth family at all. That's not what we created from. You're going to be impactful. Just step up and work.
Yeah. They often say bring the spouses together in planning. At what point do you bring the kids in and sit across the table from them?
Scott Fithian, a friend of mine who, God bless, passed away, along with Jennifer Tillman, wrote the book, Other Side of the Table. And she helped me write Motive, actually. It's the Bible for advisors and high net worth. How do you sit on the other side of the table? What is it like to do that? How do you bring those spouses together? Your question, though, is when do we bring children in? And it has a twofold answer. When does an advisor invite children? But when do parents start to invite children? Mm-hmm. My kids, when they were very young, I said, I will match every dollar you save until you go to college. I'll stop matching at that point. But whatever high water mark you save in college till you graduate from whatever, grad school or not, whatever that high watermark difference, I will do 5 times the amount in your first piece of real estate.
Ooh,
but it has to go to a rental real estate piece. I wanted to teach them how to save early. Yeah. And then how to know that they had something that they earned in investment. Mm-hmm. So I invited them at a young age to be involved in their own. The amount of money they save is a rounding error in our lives. But to them, it's huge. Yeah. And they know they earned part. Yes, some was given, but they earned. So if I'm an advisor, really I would say teach the family how to invite the family early. And then as an advisor, be invited to the table, because now my kids are old enough. They're now meeting with our financial advisor with some seed money, and they're having their own meeting. And all I ask is that they meet with me, with them once a quarter, not so I can approve or disapprove, because I hope they fail. I hope they lose money with that little number before they get a bigger number and lose it. I hope they learn lessons. Because I don't know about you, but I had to learn my lessons. And I'm glad I learned it at smaller numbers, the bigger numbers, because now I'm a downside protector before I search up.
I like that. I'm just kind of waiting to feel like, how bad was it? Okay, not too bad. That's great. We can turn this around. Oh, that's so good. So everything you've shared has been helpful. But if we're going to have listeners say, okay, whether they were here at E3 or they're listening, they have never met you, but they're just like, they turn off the podcast. What do you want them to start thinking about today? Maybe they're not high net worth yet. Maybe they're on the come up. A little inspiration, but something that they can execute. What do you think?
There's 2 parts.
Okay.
One, we talked about the next generation. If you were to take the time to take your spouse and go for a walk on the beach and give an hour to what is it that we want for them, and what example are we setting for them, and what opportunity are we giving them to be successful? So they have to struggle, but they get success. They have to struggle, but they get success. They struggle, they lose, they have to pay their penalty and get success. And if a couple did that a couple times a year and said, are we intentionally helping our kids run and become their own success, not dependent on ours or to stand on our shoulders? The second part is, am I interacting with my advisors and being a good parent to my advisors? Am I giving them the best I have when I show up to a meeting? Sure. Am I prepared? Am I letting the advisor go deep and dig into me? Am I letting the advisor be my cabinet of adversaries? Yep. Or do I have a bunch of yes people? Yep. How do I cause conflict amongst my advisors that's healthy in front of me so we get new innovative ideas, so I'm not constantly bringing them ideas and I don't hear from them when they want to sell me something? I hear in bad or good, and they feel that being in front of me is rewarding, even if there's something bad, because I reward them for coming. And then we bring the team together and say, how do we do it? Yeah. And then how do I bring my non-controlling spouse into that adversaries? And how do I teach my children the same? That's what I'd want to do.
Love it. Well, thank you for carving out some time before you hit the main stage.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Pathways E3, recorded at the NAFA E3 conference in Newport Beach, California. Join us for more insightful conversations with the experts and leaders of their industries. Until next time, keep taking action on your unique path.